I'm gonna have one arm that has like a big old muscle and this little muscle right here because of the weight of the bag and everything I had in it. So now going forward, Hi, welcome back, and thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that notification bell as well, so anytime I upload a new video, you'll automatically be alert. So I want to do basically a review of a product that I've had some time. I guess I really don't want to say a review, but mostly kind of like, how does it hold up? Is it really worth the investment of getting this particular piece? If you saw one of my prior videos, I did a review on a limited edition Louis Vuitton pochette. And so basically I want to keep going with that in the sense of kind of, how is the product holding up? Is it worth the price? Is it worth the investment? Is it still hold up in terms of the value? How much I pay for it, if I even recall how much I pay for the particular item. Anything in that nature. So let's just get started. So today's review is basically going to be on the most popular, I wouldn't say the most popular, but it's up there. It's a Speedy 40. And I believe typically from what I've seen, people usually gravitate between a Speedy 30, 35, and a 40. What I've typically seen other people carry is usually the 30 and the 35. The 40 is quite big, but I don't think that people realize how large it is in size. You know what? Let's just get started right on the review. So this is the piece that we are going to talk about today. This is the Speedy in the monogram print or canvas in the size 40. So basically I purchased, to give you an inside story of the background of the bag, how it came into my possession, I purchased this particular piece roughly about 4 to 5 years ago, around that time frame. Now, when I did purchase it from the pre-loved market. I vaguely remember what the cost was, but I believe I ended up spending between $600 and $700 for this particular piece. When I received it, I did receive it from a seller, but it was a very reputable seller, excuse me, through Japan. And sometimes you gotta be really careful on who you're buying from. I did buy from eBay, so luckily with eBay, there is a money-back guarantee in the sense of it's a counterfeit product or whatever. If there's any issues in the sense of the product that you're receiving from a particular seller, you can always fight that claim. Luckily, I didn't have to deal with that whole situation because, again, the seller that I did buy from, and I honestly don't recall who the seller was because it has been some time ago. But again, when I got it, no problems. It did have a little bit of a smell to it in the sense of kind of like a, not mildew, but kind of like an old smell to it. And that's typical in the sense of when you're purchasing vintage items from a reseller, they're going to have that smell. Does it have the smell now? Absolutely not. So anyways, let me pull back a little bit and then we'll go from there. So again, as I mentioned before, this is the monogram 40 in the canvas print. This particular piece does wrap around all the way. So there are some Louis Vuitton pieces that don't necessarily have a canvas piece that wraps all the way around. Just from this piece, there's one canvas here, canvas piece here, and a canvas on this particular side. Now, when I purchased this, I knew that it was pre-loved. So I typically have tons of stuff in my bag just to keep the shape of it. So if you notice, I pulled out a blanket. I usually throw in a couple clothing pieces, items that I don't wear anymore, and just to kind of, again, keep the shape of the bag. So it looks like I do have some lifesavers in here. No clue that I even have those in here. They're probably no good because the last time I used this bag was probably about 2 years ago. Anyways, so when I originally received this bag, the only thing that came with it was the bag itself. I didn't receive any of these extra accessories. This particular accessory came together in the sense of a different purchase that I made. This came separately as well. The keys are put away somewhere. And then I purchased this from Etsy from a seller in the sense to kind of keep this luggage tag holding on there. So again, but this is the inside. There you go. It is massively large. Hopefully you guys can get a good look in that. There you go. Now, when I received this item, the only major concern that I had was two. Now, this tab right here to pull the luggage, or not the actual, there we go. Let's see if I can focus. There you go. So if you can see that, that right there is the main concern that I had, because I don't pull from here. I actually pull from here now. Just for the simple fact that if I pull on there, there's a likely chance it is going to pull. It's going to break off. And some other Speedies, if you look on the pre-loved market, they end up actually having this tab eventually just ripped off, just because people have the tendency to just keep pulling it. And this is a leather piece. It is a natural material, so over time it is going to get that pull from there. So it did crack, but again, overall, I don't use it that way in the sense of pulling on the tab. I pull it from the zipper, so that's the reason why it's still on there. But if you look at the canvas itself, I'll show you one more time. I'll go slowly. It's really in good, decent shape. I mean, there's some little scuff marks in the sense of being a little bit dirty, and nothing that a baby wipe won't help kind of cleanse or, you know, fix those problems. I don't use a baby wipe on the actual leather, on the vachetta leather. I don't use that, but I only use it on the canvas, since the canvas is just a pre-coated material, so it's not going to cause any harm whatsoever. Now, the other minor thing that I had, that I observed, was this particular piece right here on the, I'm not sure what you want to call this, where it's holding up the actual strap. I'm not sure what the correct word. If you see that right there, there is a slight crack. So when I look at it a little bit further, it does not look like it goes right into the leather. It's pretty much just right on the top surface. So I'm not extremely concerned about that, but other than that, I mean, the bag is in really good shape, other than saying that, like I mentioned, it did have a little bit of an older smell to it, and then the tab itself. Those are the only concerns that I personally felt for me I could work with. There was a return policy that they had, that in a sense, if I didn't like it within, I think, 2 weeks, I can easily return it back and get my money back. So that's good. So you definitely want to find a seller that's on eBay or one of those resale markets that allows you to return that particular product, just in case it doesn't work out. But if you look at the actual handles, like, they are nicely patina. They're gorgeous. They're not even dirty, in the sense of, you've seen other vintage bags where this ends up turning really black, and that's because people typically use a lot of lotion, their hands are sweating, the natural oils from your hand pretty much get on here, and if a person doesn't take care of the bag, that's the reason why you start seeing that dark patina leather. So I definitely try my best to keep, not my hands not dry without lotion, but I try, when I'm actually using the bag, try not to put on lotion, just to prevent that from happening. So again, if you notice here, perfect. Even the stitching is really well, it's still well maintained over all these years. No problems whatsoever. There is a slight watermark on, this side right here. Very slight. Nothing major. You can see from the rivets, I'm not sure what the actual word is, that it has tarnished slightly. I can definitely go in there and clean it up a little bit. That's not a problem. When I do that, I use a Q-tip, and I get like a toothpick just to kind of break off the tarnished material. I'm not sure what you want to call that. So right here, it is the tag itself. This was made in France. That's the other side. I know some people do put their locket here. I do not do that, and the reason for that, because again, if you notice old vintage pieces, the material, the leather, starts to pull. I don't like that. So what I've done is that I've then purchased one here, and I just keep it here for just show and tell. And it's perfectly fine. It has not caused any real damage by it hanging there. I think the only one is right there. And you know what? I can live with that. I can live with that more than this having to be pulled over time. This, not an issue for me whatsoever. And again, I purchased this piece and this piece together from a seller, I believe, on Etsy. There you go. Very well taken care of. Again, the patina matches beautifully with the overall bag. The piping on the bag itself is still in great shape. You see a little scuff mark right there. I mean, hopefully you guys can catch that. There you go. Again, nothing major. Really well taken care of. Again, from the pre-sale market, pre-love market, excuse me. Yeah. This bag, so I'll show you right here. So there's the insides real quick. I'll show you the date code. So it does still have the D-ring attachment right there. The bag itself, in terms of the pocket, this does show some wear. I don't use that, and I'll show you the inside, what I mean by that. I have a little tissue in there. So hopefully you guys can get a good look, but you can definitely see that there is some wear in there. So because I've seen that there is wear, I don't use it. I don't use it at all, and that's the reason why I put this tissue in there, is that I should put one of those little moisture things, so just in case of any moisture gets in there, for whatever reason, it soaks up that moisture. That's kind of the reason why I put the tissue in there, but I think I could put one of those little, I'm not sure what you call it, those little things where it takes up the moisture. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Hopefully. So anyways, so the date code is right under here, under the... So if you see right there, hopefully I can get a good view. So it's SP0918. So those numbers right here, that's the SP stands for France. The 0 and the 1 is the month that it was made in. So this was made in January. And the fourth number, the number 9, with the last number in that sequence, the number 8, that means that bag, this particular bag, was made in 1998. So since we're in 2020, this bag, it is 22 years old. So if you think about it, in the overall condition that I'm showing you this Speedy right now, it's pretty good. It's held up quite well in the sense of the overall condition, the handles, the patina, no major concerns whatsoever, other than, again, this is pretty standard where this does tend to pull when you start to pulling it. Since I've had this, I probably only used it a good handful of times. The first time I used it, not realizing this sucker is heavy, like, oh my God, it's heavy. Like, this sucker, you can fit a lot in here. Kid you not. So because of that, I was throwing stuff in, and not realizing, like, holy cow. Like, you can't even put your arm in here to hold it like this because your arm won't fit. This literally is more of a handheld bag. Hence the reason why these typically always get really nasty dark. The only time I ever use this bag is we're going on a weekend trip or we're going on a vacation. This I typically use mainly for kind of like personal hygiene type of products. Then they go in here. Again, if I'm going for a small weekend, then I will probably put extra pairs of clothes, and that's pretty much what it is. I'll just use this as a piece of luggage now going forward. I do have a Keepall 45, so if you definitely want to see a review on that and how old that particular piece is and how well it's hold up, I can definitely do it. But and to show you kind of like the comparisons of the size, there is a slight big difference in the sense of the appearance and how it has held up over time. But again, that's pretty much my review. Oh, the zipper, let me show you real quick. So I do hold this side, and there's no problems. It doesn't have any pull. Look at that. The zipper is like so smooth, I kid you not. It's like, oh, yeah. no issues whatsoever. So do I personally think a Speedy 40 is a good investment to get? Yes, absolutely. If you're going to be using it for maybe like a weekend trip or for a piece of your luggage, absolutely. But if you're going to be using it just to do some shopping here and there, by no means. I probably would not suggest buying it just because it is very tiresome in the sense of holding it, and it's going to actually weigh you down. I would personally probably look into a Speedy 30 or Speedy 35. So between those two sizes, I would even think a Speedy 35 may be even a little bit too big if you're going to be using it as a purse. So I would probably prefer a Speedy 30, and even kind of like a bandolier type bag, to be completely honest, just because it may get heavy. Like, this bag does get heavy. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of the background of this particular bag. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Yeah, I am so happy that I went with it. I'm happy I purchased it. I'm happy I bought it from the seller that I did, because the bag is in complete great condition in the sense of the age of it. So other than that, I really hope you guys really like my kind of like up-to-date review in the sense of, hey, is it worth it? What do you think? Blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, until then, well, you know what? Make sure to leave a comment below and let me know, do you guys have the Speedy 40? And if so, what do you think about it? Do you have the Speedy 30, 35? And if so, do you have the bandolier? You know, let me know what's your feedback, because I really do want to get another Speedy, but obviously I already have the 40. I'm contemplating if I should get the Speedy 35 or the Speedy 40, but in the bandolier style. So this way I can just kind of cross over my body. And if so, which one worked for you, the 30 or the 35? But until then, yeah, just, you know, as always, make sure you brush your teeth, wash your culo, and subscribe. Until then, bye everyone.